class. So right now we're going to do basically a calculation. We're going to use graphical analysis to see how having a regional trade arrangement is beneficial for countries part of it and countries that are not part of it. So we're going to look at three countries I mentioned earlier: Germany, Luxembourg, and then also the United States. So here I've graphed the supply and demand for Luxembourg. So SL is the supply of Luxembourg, DL is the demand for Luxembourg. So there's two ways we can look at the effects of regional trading agreement or arrangements. One is the static effects, which is what we're going to be going over, and the other is dynamic effects. So static effects, we can look at productive efficiency as well as consumer welfare. So dynamic looks at just long run growth rates to see how things are changing in the long run. So again, assuming we have three countries, the US, Germany, and Luxembourg. Now we're going to assume that Luxembourg and Germany are going to form a trading agreement, and the United States is going to be on the outside looking in. So another key assumption is there's only three countries in this world for our example. So the market we're looking at is a bushel, or the market for grains. So we have bushels of grain as our X, and then price in dollars as our Y. So we're assuming that they're creating a custom union. So key thing with the custom union is you're reducing all trade barriers if you're a part of that arrangement. If you're not a part of that arrangement, this does not apply to you. So with the custom union, we abolish all tariffs between Luxembourg and Germany, and we have the same common tariffs for the third country that's not a part of it, so the United States. So what we're first going to do is we're going to assume that Luxembourg is small. So in the beginning of the semester, we talked about small countries. If we ever say that you're small, that means you have no influence on the world market. Basically, you're going to purchase products at the world price. You have no influence. So in this case, we're saying Germany and the United States are large countries. Luxembourg is a small country. So the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to give you the price. So PG is a price that Germany has, which is $3.25. And then the price that the United States has is $3. So in this case, we're assuming that the United States is a much more efficient producer. They're producing at a lower price compared to Germany. So again, Luxembourg has no say in what price they purchase at. They're going to go for the lowest price. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to draw in the supply curve for the United States. So it's going to be perfectly elastic. So this is the should be the supply of USA. Now this price right here is $3. So at $3, this point right here is 1. Again, it's not drawn to scale. And then this point right here is 23. So this point right here is indicating this is the quantity supplied by Luxembourg. They only supply 1 unit. Now, the demand in Luxembourg for bushels of grain is 23. So the difference between these two is how much you import. So the difference between 23 and 1 is 22 units. So Luxembourg imports 22 units of 22 bushels of grain at this specific price. Now for Germany, their supply is at $3.25. Now at their price point, you have these two important points. So for them it's 4 and then 20. So now if let's say Luxembourg were to purchase bushels of grain from Germany at $3.25, domestically they would be producing 4 units, and overall they demand 20. So the difference between 4 and 20 is 16. That's how much they're going to import. Okay, so we've done those two steps. We know how much each country is going to be importing at these specific prices. And this is just with free trade. We're not assuming that they've made this trade arrangement yet. So right now it's just free trade. Then we're going to assume that they create a regional trade agreement. Okay, so now let's say Luxembourg imposes a 50-cent tax. They impose a 50-cent tax on each country. So the United States, their price increases by 50 cents, so plus 50, and then so does the price for Germany. So now we have new supply curves. So the price for the United States is going to be right here. Supply of the USA. And this is at 350. And then the price, so we noticed that the price went up from here to here for the United States. Now for Germany, the price also increases. Supply of Germany, and it is 375. So we're going from 325 to 375. Again, it's just 50 cents. This is part of the problem. I'm just giving you this problem by saying Luxembourg imposes a tax. So we still haven't made the trade arrangement yet. We're just imposing a tax on every country. So this is how we see how much is created because of trade, how much is destroyed because of trade. Okay, so now we see the new price points. Now we have new quantity demanded, quantity supplied. So at this specific price, now the difference is 7, and this point is 17. Now we're just going to focus on the supply of the United States. And the reason being is because now this is where we implement the regional trading agreement. So Luxembourg and Germany have become a part of this regional trade agreement. And what you're going to be seeing is there's a reduction in tariffs. So if we reduce the tariffs for Germany, so our tariff originally is 50 cents per country, but Germany has sided with Luxembourg. Now these tariffs are abolished just for Germany. So if the 50 cents is abolished for Germany, we went from originally we went from 325 to 375, but now we're going back from 375 to 325. This 50 cents is abolished because, again, they're trading partners. If you're a trading partner, you're not going to impose these tariffs. That's one of the key rules for a custom union. So now the new price that we're comparing is 350 to 325. So if you're a country and you want to trade with somebody, you always want to trade for the lowest price. And since it's your trading partner, this is good. So 325 is the new price that you're focused on. 350 is a new price for the competitor or the country that's not a part of this union. That is specifically the United States. The United States is not a part of this. So essentially you can just not worry about this top line. The 3 lines we're focused on is supply of the United States, supply of Germany, and the original price for the United States, their supply curve. Okay, so now what we're going to be doing, so there's no tariffs between Luxembourg and Germany. Now tariffs remain on the non-member of the United States. So now we're going to start comparing these different points. So a couple of the points that you really need to know is, give me one second. So this black triangle right here, and this black triangle right here. So these 2 triangles, we'll call this A, we'll call this B. These 2 triangles, these determine your trade creation. So A plus B equals trade creation. This is basically how trade helps you. Now, this area right here This rectangle, we'll call this C. What this is trade diversion. So I know it's really messy. Area C is trade diversion. So in this case, we'll see how trade is created, how trade is destroyed, how this helps the world, how this hurts the world. So we'll do the calculations in a second. All right, class, so I cleaned up the graph. So we still have the supply with the USA plus tariff, which was 50 cents. And then we have the supply for Germany and the original supply for the United States. So again, we implemented the tax or the tariff, so it shot up to 50 cents. Now, because Germany and Luxembourg are together in the same the regional trade agreement, it makes trade easier for them. They're getting it at $3.25 as opposed to paying $3.50. So portion A and B, this is what creates, it's the trade creation. And then portion C is trade diversion. So if we do some of the math, the area of A is the difference between 350 and 325, which is 25 cents. And the difference between 4 and 7 is 3. So it's going to be 75 divided by 2, which is going to be 0.375, and then 0.375. And then portion C is going to be 2.5. Now, these numbers are important because, so if we add A and B together, we get 0.75 and 2.5. So these numbers are important because it gives us the reasoning behind this regional trade agreement. So if you're a part of the agreement, you get the better price. So trade creation, we see an increase in consumption, increase in production because of using low-cost producer in the union. So the country that's in the union, so Luxembourg is using Germany. 325 is less than 350. The downside to basically this is you see a decrease in domestic production. We see a downside of domestic production because you're getting it at a lower price. Trade diversion, so portion C, this is what's being lost. This is the net welfare loss. You can see it as it's a loss because the United States is the low-cost producer in the world. So again, we're originally producing it at 3, but because we imposed this tariff, the price shot up to $3.50. Now, instead of purchasing it from the United States, we're purchasing it from Germany for a higher price, and this is where the loss is incurred. Now, we're importing from, or sorry, we're not importing from a low-cost producer, and we replace that with a high-cost producer. So the high-cost producer in this case is Germany compared to the United States if there was no tax. So if we had no tariff at all whatsoever, we could see a huge impact on trade creation. But because we see a tariff, we decrease inefficiency, we decrease production and consumption because of this. So if A and B is greater than C, overall consumption production is good. So this is good. If A plus B is less than C, this is bad. So if by creating this trade agreement, A and B, so we created more trade, meaning more production, more consumption, so forth, it's good. If A and B are less than C, basically the loss is greater than the benefit. This is horrible for the overall world. So in this case, there's just 3 countries. But now let's say what would happen if we increase the number of countries in this problem, or if we increase the number of countries in this regional trade agreement. What would happen? So I want you guys to drop a comment. Whoever gets the correct answer, you'll be given extra credit. So that's going to be it for this static problem. We'll talk a little bit more about this in the next video as well. If you guys have any questions, again, email me, come by the Zoom session, and remember the extra credit question. It's if we increase the number of countries in the regional trade agreement, what's going to happen? So talk in terms of A, B, and C, trade creation, and trade diversion. I will see you guys next time. Hope you guys are staying healthy. Thank you.